Welcome through the fog, ladies and gentlemen. What is up? Your boy Joe Of All Vapes. Another edition of PNW Reviews. Couldn't be happier to be here. Very glad that you've joined me. If you're just tuning in for the first time, thank you very much. Be sure to slam on that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the latest and greatest of what's going on in the vape industry. And if you follow me on Twitter, I would surely appreciate it. Give me a follow on Instagram as well. So, the West Coast Vape Expo. Oh man, that was a kick. If any of you guys did not get the opportunity to make it, never fear. The 2018 West Coast Vape Expo is going to be off the hook. It's going to be epic. Was hanging out with my Combo Vapes boys out in Pasco, Washington from December 9th through the 10th. Got to meet tons of old friends, make some new friends, and just try a bunch of awesome juice from a bunch of great people that really keep this industry moving and grooving. You know what I'm saying? So all I can tell you about next year is that it is going to be much, much bigger. Yours truly is going to be there in a much bigger way, okay? So the premier sponsor is going to be Combo Vapes this time, taking care of the whole massive big shebang. Going to be out there with some old friends once again, and it is just going to be a massive, massive show. So definitely do not miss that. Details to come. Check out my Instagram page for more. But for right now, we're going to be talking about some awesomeness. Some lazy awesomeness. Those of us that just don't have the time, the wherewithal, or just don't want to get off our butts and actually go out there and make our own coils. You know what I'm saying? It's okay, you got your sub-ohm tanks, got your replaceable coils. That's about as easy as it gets, right? But what about those of us that actually want the advantageous nature of using a wrapped coil, but just don't want to have to wrap it for ourselves? Yeah, sure. We can go out and we can buy the independent contractors that wrap the coils and sell them online, but maybe we're just too darn lazy to do that too. Well, Ijoy has a solution for you. The Ijoy SRDA. That's right, baby. The one and only RDA made and specifically designed for the lazy at heart. There's a lot of hype about this thing. The release is not going to be until the 15th of this month, so you're seeing it right here for the first time. We're going to take an introspective look at this bad boy. You and me, we're going to put some fresh cotton on it, we're going to run it, and we're going to see what's all about the Combo SRDA from Ijoy. All right, folks, let's take a look at some quick and easy specs. First of all, here's the box. Okay, big whoop on that one, right? Okay, so let's take this bad boy apart. We're going to open it up. We get a couple little sleeves of paper here. The next one here gives you the little intro. Too lazy to wash clothes, the washing machine was invented. Too lazy to go upstairs, the elevator was invented. Too lazy to walk, the car was invented. In order to make dripper enthusiasts get rid of the complicated, Ijoy launched the SRDA. Now the S in this bad boy stands for squonk. That's going to become pretty darn obvious once we kind of take a look at what's going on. So first of all, got your little swag bag. Let's get the swag bag out of the way. Now you got your rubber O-rings, got some spare cotton. But what do we got here in the bag? Well, let's take this little bag apart here and pull out this little device. Kind of looks like a key, doesn't it? I wonder. Okay, so we're going to take this and slam that guy aside. Now we're just going to pull out the SRDA, if I can actually manage. And at first glance, we're looking at a pretty typical looking RDA, right? Okay, so we got the Ultim drip tip cap. Now, for those of you that are not familiar with Ultim, Ultim is actually a type of plastic that was originated in Germany. This stuff is actually designed for the purpose of wicking away heat from your lips straight into the material. So it's a super high density, heat resistant thermoplastic. You can use that if you want. That's a Joeism, just made that up on the fly. But it's kind of hitting a lot of the vaping industry by storm. Side airflow, and that's fully adjustable just by twisting the neck portion here, as you can see. And we take a look at the bottom, designed by Ijoy, and there is the squonk pin, the 510 squonk pin. So that is the S in the SRDA. So we're gonna take this bad boy apart. It's actually a little bit easier to pull off than the majority of most RDAs that I have played with. And the top cap comes completely separate from the sleeve, as you can see. So makes it just a little bit easier to clean. The internal structure here is beveled, which makes it a little bit easier for drippage, because once the condensation builds up from the vapor, a lot of the times what happens is that you're recycling used vapor back onto the coils, which, I mean, basically it's twice vaped vape. And you're going to get kind of a bitter taste out of that. The way the internal structure is designed with the bevels, it sort of just rolls back down, which equals a little bit less redrip from the condensed vapor. So at first glance on the internal structure, you just see basically a couple of coils with some cotton. Now, as we can see here, we've got the removable sleeve portion. I'm just going to go ahead and unscrew that bad boy. That comes completely screwed off. Now we have the 510 squonk pin. Couple of holes on the lower base here, but as we can see on the side, we've got an ohm rating, 0.13 ohms, best used at 40 to 80 watts. So a lot of you guys are probably a little bit confused about that right now. What we're going to do is pick up this handy dandy little key that Ijoy sends with the SRDA, unscrew this bad boy, screws right into the sleeved base, stick that guy aside, pull that right out, and this is pretty much what we're looking at. Now, if you pick up the cotton just a little bit past where the coils are, we're actually just going to pull this stuff out and put some different cotton on this bad boy, just to give you a little bit of a better look-see. The lazy portion of what they're talking about with this SRDA will become very, very clear. I'm going to pull this little rubber cap off of the squonk pin, put that aside, pull the lower base off, and we're going to take a little bit of a closer look at these coils. Now, the coils are mounted just like pretty much any store-bought or mass-marketed coil that you can buy, mass-marketed wrap coil. But if we look at the underside of this configuration here, you can see that these are welded into place. Did not realize that this actually has a chipset-like base with the coils welded into place. So these are, for all intents and purposes, semi-permanent, indefinitely semi-permanent, if you will. Nothing totally lasts forever, but that's what makes this design so darn unique. So this is the first time I've ever seen anything like this. So we're going to put that little rubber sleeve back on the bottom of the squonk pin, screw this back into the lower bottom base. Handy dandy little key going on right here. So the reason I'm not putting any cotton in it right now is because I actually want to put this in a device and kind of run this and see what kind of a visual burn we can get from this. Now, I'm using my Capo 100. Unfortunately, I do not have the Capo squonk for you to be able to give this a proper introduction, on account of the fact that, well, I just don't have a Capo squonk. So we're going to use the Capo 100 watt, which is just as good, because this can function regardless of whether or not you're using it for a squonk or not, just as a regular RDA. So we're going to screw this bad boy into the top of the 510. It was a 40 to 80 wattage recommendation. So let's give this a little bit of a burn and see what we get. That's pretty outstandingly solid. Now, the one thing that I'm noticing is that there is a little bit of an arc going on, a little bit of an uncomfortable arc going on between both of the coils. Coils being just a little bit too tightly, closely packed for my taste. You can't see it on camera very well, but this coil right here and this coil right here just has a little bit of an arc going in between the center wraps. So what I'm going to do is wait for this to cool off a little bit. Take this apart once again. We're going to put some cotton on it, but I'm going to try and very gently separate these coils just slightly enough, just to kind of get a little bit of an even burn from the center out. That's pretty much what we're looking for. Okay, so as you can see here, there's a ceramic base that holds the coils in steady. I'm not tugging on these coils very hard at all, because heaven forbid these things actually pop out of the base, and then I totally ruin this review right from the get-go, you know what I mean? So we don't want to do that. What I'm doing is just very gently separating the coils from each other, just to give them a little bit more space, so there's a little bit less of an arc between the center coils. There we go. That's perfect. Okay, so that helped out a whole lot. The coils are pulled apart just gently enough to make sure that you get that center out burn, as you can see that in the camera. Now what we're gonna do is let these cool off once again. We're gonna wick some cotton on here, and then we're gonna try this bad boy out. I'm gonna bust out my Kendo Vape Cotton Gold Edition. Pull out a little bit of a fatty wad with this stuff here. Now because these coils are so small, you're not going to want to put, obviously, a thick leg of cotton through this. You're just going to want to put enough to clinch the internal structure of the wrap. And just give it a little bit of a brush, just to kind of aid in the wicking process a little bit. Now what I'm going to do is connect this back to the base. Don't forget your little rubber stopper. Somehow I know somebody's going to lose this thing and it's going to be completely defunct and pointless, right? Okay, so there we go, looking so far. I think it looks pretty decent. So let's put the rest of this back together once again. And busted a little blueberry cake, buttercream cake from Glass E-Juice. A little bit of cut, a little bit in there, and a little bit on the top. And then what I do is I put it on the top of the coils and give it a little bit of a fire. Just kind of saturates everything up. Okay, now I like especially how the coils are pre-positioned for the air intake to go right over the coils. Kind of dig that. That's pretty much the way I do my RDAs anyways. Now, just giving it a quick fire, I'm getting some solid cloud production going on right there. Well, pre-cloud production, let's put it that way. But we'll give it a nice little soak. And now we will stick the top of the RDA on this bad boy. Now I'm going to leave the air intake completely open on both sides just because that's the way I dig it. We're going to bring the camera up and give this guy a little dance. Okay, so you saw the basic ins and outs of the Ijoy SRDA. Pretty simple design structure. I was actually kind of surprised of basically the whole construction as is. When they talk about an RDA coil made for the lazy, they weren't kidding. But to give it a little bit more, well, just credit where credit is due, it's actually kind of a really cool design. It looks like something I definitely would have jerry-rigged if I had all the parts put together, you know what I mean? I think it's a good idea, but so far so good, right? Let's give it a test. Okay. So I'm getting amazing cloud production out of this. Now the recommended wattage is anywhere between 40 to 80 watts, as you guys saw. I've got this cranked up to 65 watts. That's releasing really, really warm vape. With the air intake valves open all the way, it's giving me just a really smooth and solid influx of air right over those coils, which is right where you want it to be. Let me tell you something, if my lung capacity were any bigger, I'd be chucking some solid clouds, but solid clouds is what I'm hitting right now. Everything is really wide open, so you can drip directly through the Ultim drip tip. I'm gonna cover up the air intake valves by about 50%, just to give it a little bit of a tighter airflow. Just as smooth, if not just a little bit more control in terms of the amount of air, obviously, that you're getting in through the intake. Now, the Ultim drip tip is amazingly comfortable to the lips, conforms right to it. It's a really good feel. You can feel absolutely zero heat. I've got a lot of RDAs and SRDAs that just burn all the way down to the metal. I'm not feeling any of that with this. So the fact that the chamber on this is small enough, basically just to incorporate the air density to give you some solid cloud, means that it's not overcooling the cloud and the vapor as much as a lot of other devices that just have way too much room, you know? And the one thing that I will mention on this is absolutely zero spit back. It might have something to do with the size of the coils, maybe how they're offset just from the opening of the drip tip. One way or the other, so far, so good. Now what I'd like to do definitely is put this on a good squonk model. As soon as I get my Combo squonk mod, I'm going to be riding this thing, you know, just into the grave, if you will. But so far, I'm really loving the SRDA. Now, the one beef, there's always a beef, right? There's always a con to every pro. The one beef that I got with this is when we were taking it apart, in between the bottom portion here and the top sleeve, when we took it apart, you had that little teeny itty bitty rubber gasket that went on the bottom of the squonk pin right before it goes into the 510 twist. Now, that's real easy to lose, and I can guarantee a ton of people are going to end up getting fumble-fingered and losing that thing. It's just going to drop into the carpet, you're going to vacuum it up, you're never going to see it again. So, is that a big thing? I don't know. I can guarantee they're probably going to be selling those separately on Ijoy.com pretty soon as the SRDA gets released, which is on the 15th. I think it's going to be a really good hit. I loved it. I think you guys are going to dig it too. So 15th of December 2017 is the USA release date for the Ijoy SRDA. Check out the comment section below. I put a discount code and a link where you can purchase this bad boy and save a little bit of that coveted vape cash as well. Maybe put one of these bad boys in the stocking for your loved vapor one, or you know what, buy one for yourself. Don't tell anybody. I won't tell if you won't tell, okay? You know what I'm saying? So thank you very much for joining me for this review of the Ijoy SRDA. If you dug this review, definitely consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. Follow me on Instagram and follow me on Twitter. I'm going to be posting plenty of brand new giveaways coming up leading up to Christmas. Got some brand new stuff coming out with some new companies, juice, mods, devices, you name it. Joe Of All Vapes going to bring it to you, baby. So this is Joe Of All Vapes, your eye in that vaping sky, wishing you to stay humble. You love yourselves, love each other, and by all means, keep it cloudy, and of course, pinky out. Hey everybody, this is Joe Of All Vapes. Thank you for watching. For the best in vape reviews, pound that subscribe button, and don't forget, vaping saves lives.